makes me wanna holler, go away. I need more peace and hope and love. Where do I find it in this crazy old world? Need strategies, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Every time I listen, Lauren and David share strategies for living, and it makes me aware. I got strategies for living, strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio. Your dose of radio rehab. Strategies for living radio.
Oh, we need them. We definitely need those strategies for living. So are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
We better get ready because we're tackling a hot topic today, aren't we?
I'm guilty. I'm just over here, and I'm just washed with guilt.
You are?
I am, because, I think, I don't know that we do a good enough job recycling. And I mean, I'm perpetually guilty. I need help.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got anybody in mind?
I think we got a good live strategist for that today.
I think we might. We are going to talk to Dr. Pablo Ribeiro Dias today. He's got a new book. It's called Climate Changed. It's the science of sustainability and how each of us can do our part. And one of the things that we're going to do today, Lauren, is Dr. Diaz has come up with a, believe it or not, 5-minute sustainability reset. And I think he may have some help for my guilt. I don't know.
I think he might.
But in addition to that, I mean, we are all, every single one of us are affected by, obviously, the environment.
Sure. I mean, I think we forget that we are a part of the environment. We're an extension.
We live as if, it's just...
It's apart from us.
Yeah. And so when Pablo Diaz comes around and gives us a book like Climate Change, we've got to pay attention to it.
Right.
And we're going to do that today because he's our life strategist.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll all be changed because of it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's the intent. So Pablo Ribeiro Diaz today, Climate Changed and the Science of Sustainability and how each of us, every single one of us, can do our part. Folks, thank you for listening. We appreciate you, and we appreciate our sponsors who make it all possible. The Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Learning RX, We Train Your Brain, the Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitta's Delicatessen, home of The Godfather, Alligator Italian Sausage, pretty good Muffies too, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. Dr. Pablo Diaz today, Climate Changed and the Science of Sustainability, how each and every one of us can do our part. That's today here on Strategies for Living. Come back and join us.
Tune in daily, find the light. Healthy mind and spirits bright. Strategies for living strong. Feel the vibe, it won't go wrong. Body moves and soul align. Catch the rhythm, feel the time. Radio rehab every day. Chase those clouds of gray away. Your daily dose of radio rehab. Lift you up when skies seem drab. Mind and body, spirits free. Living life in harmony.
And welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Let's welcome into the program Dr. Pablo Ribeiro Diaz. He's a professor, a scientist, an artist, a researcher, an engineer, an entrepreneur working at the intersection of recycling, sustainability, and environmental engineering. He bridges science and action, helping others understand and address today's environmental challenges. He's the author of Climate Changed, the Science of Sustainability and How Each of Us Can Do Our Part. Dr. Diaz, welcome. Welcome to Strategies.
Hey, Lauren. Hey, Dave. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, again, it's obvious we're living it. The climate is changing. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. We can tell the climate is changing. And so bottom line is we've got to change too, right?
That's absolutely right. Yeah. This is a topic that often evokes a lot of confusion because it is a topic with, many nuances and a lot of unknowns about the future and how big of a swing things are going to take. But you're absolutely right. We have a lot of evidence showing that it is changed. It's changing, and that we got to do something about it.
Yeah.
Urgently.
So what is, again, and one of the things that I really like about your book, Pablo, is it's not there's a lot of science in here. It's grounded in science, but it's written for everybody. It's a book that breaks down climate change and things like pollution and biodiversity loss and such many other things. But it's very, very readable. Very,
it's accessible.
It's accessible. Yeah. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, and that was a key goal of mine, right, Dave? I was writing with that in mind. It was, the idea is this is supposed to be a book for the general audience that covers the science and to be as truthful as possible to the science, but without, the dryness of scientific writing, without a lot of the jargon that comes often with it, equations, graphs. So I removed all of that. There's none of that in the book. It's really plain language explained through stories and with analogies to make it as accessible as possible. And like you said, touching on a lot of environmental impacts, not just on climate change, which is front and center for sure, but also toxicity, air pollution, eutrophication, and all these other things.
Yeah. Yeah. I recall back in my undergraduate, I always loved the science professors that broke it down and made it, where I could understand it. Lauren, you were different because you're a science gal, but I didn't come up that way. So I always appreciated, those and I think, Dr. Diaz is one of those professors. Pablo, break it down for us. What do the average Joe and Jane need to understand about the science here?
So I think the book does it in a way that I think is accessible and straightforward. So I break it down in how do we got here? Bit of a, look back on history and what were the major milestones, just to ground us in why here, why now, why are we talking about this? Then it talks about the problems, right? And it breaks down, like I said, climate change is related to the global average increase, which is often very analogous to us going into a car in the summer and noticing the car is super hot inside. It's the same phenomenon taking place at a global scale.
Yeah.
But then explain the problems, air pollution, toxicity, etc. And then finally the solutions. And in the solutions part, I break it down into what are the little steps, i.e. the things that you and I can do on our day-to-day lives, on our own, behavior. But then what are the big steps? Because often we get stuck on the little steps by design, by people that, want us to feel like this is too big of a challenge. And we get stuck on trying to change our own behavior when really what we need is systemic changes. And so the big steps are talk about the systemic changes and how we can contribute to those changes. So the book is broken down in those three big chapters, talking about the history, the problems, and then the solutions.
Well, you've still got a significant number of people, and I don't mean to offend anybody that's listening to us, but I would be willing to bet that some of the people listening to us right now would argue that climate change is just made up. Climate change is not real. We all hear it.
Sure.
We hear it. So when that question is put to you, Pablo, is climate change real? How do you how do you address it? How do you answer it?
I think it's a valid question, right? First off, because there's so much uncertainty around other things related to the topic that it's easy to confuse that uncertainty with whether it is real or not. But the science has been overwhelming in the sense that, yes, it is real, and yes, we can measure and we can prove it. And this has been piling up for decades. So it's not so much of whether it is real or not, it is whether the things are going to spiral more quickly, what's going to be, the exact temperature on a given location, what's going to be the exact behavior or weather in a given location. Those are things that are uncertain, and the scientists are the first ones to say, yeah, we have uncertainty on how things are going to move forward as far as changes go. But looking back, we can be sure it's changed. We can be sure that the average increase in the global temperatures is real, and we can measure it year over year. We've been doing that for decades. So it's really overwhelming, and I think the confusion really comes from this idea that there's two sides of the argument about whether it's real or not, when in reality, over 90% of scientists agree that human-made climate change is real, and that there's so much evidence behind it, and to have 90+% of scientists agree to something, it's overwhelming kind of situation. It's not normal because scientists like a lot to debate amongst each other about things, and so we're debating what happens afterwards, not whether it's happening or not. And I think that distinction is very important.
Right. What we hear a lot about the greenhouse effect. What is that? Break that down for us. Make it as simple as you can. What is the greenhouse effect?
So the greenhouse effect is basically what keeps our planet in the cozy temperature that we live in, and that allows life to exist as is. It's the effect that basically the atmosphere captures some of the energy coming from the sun, and instead of having a very cold planet, we have the cozy planet that we live in today. And so one of the misunderstandings often that I hear from students and from people I talk to is like, oh, we will need to remove the greenhouse effect. When in reality, greenhouse effect is natural. It's been occurring all throughout history, and we need it to continue. What changes is as we pump more gases into the atmosphere, human-made gases, which mainly come from the use of fossil fuels and from other human-made sources, what happens is we increase that temperature. The effect that otherwise would be natural and cozy for us ends up being something that alters the climate in a way that makes it not so cozy and dangerous for a lot of species, including ourselves. And the phenomenon itself is, like I was saying before, it's like a car in the summer, right? A car in the summer is getting all the energy from the sun. It's increasing its temperature, but the temperature inside, the gases inside, cannot go out of the car as easily because of the windows. And so the windows in this case, or the fuselage of the car. So the windows in this case represent our atmosphere, trapping the heat inside planet Earth.
Mm-hmm. So, again, I'm not, I'm not immune to this. I hear about it on the surface. I hear carbon dioxide. I hear methane. I hear nitrous oxide, and I hear people concerned about water. Mm-hmm. So how is what you're writing in climate change affecting carbon dioxide and its equivalents, methane, ozone, and nitrous oxide, and water, which we know we have to sustain life?
So these, what you just outlined, are all the greenhouse gases, right? Those are the primary greenhouse gases. These are the elements that basically create this effect that we're talking about, and that we're pumping more and more into the atmosphere over time. So the idea here is, how can we stop pumping these gases into the atmosphere and increase the concentration they have over time? And the reason we want to do that is because we want to keep the climate stable, to have a sustainable life. And what do we mean when we talk about a sustainable life? It means that we're in balance with nature. We're in balance with planet Earth. We're not putting things that Earth cannot absorb, right? Think about waste, think about the gases we're talking about, but also we're not extracting more than it can replenish. Mm. And here you can think about a apple tree giving us fruits, quote unquote, forever, or even like metals being extracted from the ground. How do we achieve a sustainable life in which things are stable and we as a species are in balance with nature?
We got about a minute and a half before we have to go to break. Where these greenhouse gases, where do they come from?
So a lot of the emissions are natural, and I think it's important for us to point that out.
Mm-hmm.
But the key emissions coming from human-made sources are derived from fossil fuels, the use of fossil fuels, that is coal, oil, and gas, natural gas. And we use that throughout, society. We've been using that with transportation to power our vehicles, to power, think any vehicle, think planes, think boats, think cars, trucks. We also use it in industry. We use it to be able to heat up processes that make cement. We use it to heat up processes to make steel, and all the heavy industry utilize it a lot. We use it to heat our homes, right? A lot of us live in cold weather, and we need to heat our homes, and we use that to be able to power our boilers, to be able to increase the temperature of our water, to be able to keep our house cozy. And lastly, we also use it to produce electricity. So when making electricity, we burn fossil fuels to be able to pump a engine and a steam engine to be able to produce electricity that then we use for other processes. So the use of fossil fuels is ubiquitous. We use it throughout society. We've been using it for centuries now. And one of the key ideas you might have heard about is that idea of net zero, which is this idea of the sum of what we put out into the atmosphere and what we absorb from the atmosphere is zero. So we're not adding any more greenhouse gases or fossil fuels into the atmosphere.
A lot to take in, a lot to learn. We're doing that today from Dr. Pablo Diaz. The book is Climate Changed, The Science of Sustainability and How Each One of Us Can Do Our Part. We've got much more to learn, much more to come today here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
We all have problems every day. We all need help along the way. We need strategies for living. Radio.
And welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan with Dr. Pablo Diaz today. His book is a fantastic one. It's called Climate Changed, The Science of Sustainability and How Each of Us Can Do Our Part. I was joking at the first of the program of, I have so much guilt. And it wasn't really entirely a joke, because
I think so many people feel overwhelmed and powerless when faced with these facts.
Well, I mean, the fact is that I want to recycle.
Right.
I really do. And I get into this mode of I need to recycle everything, right? And I get kind of guilty about that, Pablo. What you've got this thing called a 5-minute sustainability reset. So it's supposed to help me with my guilt, huh?
Yes, it is, Dave. And I think you're touching on probably the most important part of the book, which is that we, especially people that care, people that are interested in this topic, and they understand, this whole concept of living in balance with nature, about sustainability, about, being eco-friendly. They want to, do their part. And they often translate doing their part as, how can I go and check all these boxes in my individual life, in my individual behavior?
Right.
And that, yes, includes things like recycling, like you're talking about, Dave. It's, am I recycling everything I possibly can? Am I cleaning my jars after I eat so that recycling is easier? Am I taking, my reusable bag to the grocery store? And so I think one of the key things that this book unlocks is this idea that we're not going to solve the sustainability issues we have today by all of us doing our individual parts. And when I learned this, I was very taken aback, because, this leads to, does it even matter what I do, right? Does it even matter if I don't do my part?
Right.
And I was able to finally understand that really what matters here is these little steps are the momentum that get you going, right? That, make you care about the issue, but they should not be your endpoint, because of two things. The first thing is you're not going to be able to live a perfect life. No, none of us can.
Right.
Right? So often you're going to forget your bag. You're going to get to the grocery store and you're going to kick yourself because you forgot the reusable bag, because you're not going to be able to recycle everything, because you're going to forget the lights on Sunday. And those things happen, and that's okay. That's the first thing coming out of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because our individual behavior is not what's going to turn the tide here. it's important to forgive yourself. That's the guilt we're talking about here, right? Let that guilt go.
Yeah. You just
And the second
you just
thing,
earned
guys,
your you just earned your
Oh, sorry, go
stripes. You just earned your stripes as a life strategist right there.
Oh, there you go. This book is all about that, right? It's exactly that change. And I can talk a lot about examples of my own life that I was doing things that were just, covering me in guilt without really moving the needle. But the second thing that this leads to is, okay, so if it's not my individual actions on my own life, my behavior in my life, that will turn the tides, what will, right? And these are the big steps. These are the collective action. And that's where the book turns into, like, let's talk about your life and where you are inserted to see where you have the biggest leverage points. Which, do you have a radio show that you can talk about this, for instance, right? Like you guys are doing today. Yeah. Do you have the ability to exert any change in the place you work, in the university you study, in the school you're in? Those are the things that move the tides, and there's plenty of examples in the book, and we can talk a lot about that too.
Yeah. So anybody, we want people to get the book. The book is called Climate Changed, but you have given a wonderful gift that's free to everybody. It's called the 5-Minute Sustainability Reset, and it's fantastic. It's well put together, and anybody can have it. Just go to pablodiaz.net. That's PABLODIAS, pablodiaz.net. And there's a place there that you can download the 5-Minute Sustainability Reset. Yeah.
So, Pablo, I kind of
absolutely right.
I kind of started the show off with this, and I think this is just my own personal opinion. I think so many of us have become disconnected. We see ourselves as separate from nature. Do you think that part of the challenge for managing climate change and sustainable living is this aspect that modern culture kind of has disconnected us from nature and from the consequences of our choices?
Yes, I absolutely think that's part of it, Lauren. I think, being so far away from the steps that make our lives the way they are has given this distance, right, from the impacts of the everyday life. And at the same time, a lot of it is by design. And that's one thing I learned while writing the book for my students is a lot of the separation, the feeling of, this is either too big of a challenge or that it doesn't really affect me, it's too far away, was by design. The more that we don't think about it, the more it's easier to, keep the status quo with people benefiting from it, minorities benefiting from it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're making me feel a whole lot better here. And I mean, that's the point that I want people to really understand about this book. I said earlier that, it's a science, it's grounded in science, and it's a science book, but it's a very readable science book. It's one that, I could get a copy of this for my 8th grade grandson, who, by the way, I got to be a proud grandfather for a second. We went to his graduation last night.
Yes.
And
that's right. He was awarded the science award.
He got the science award. I mean, they did the different subject awards.
Yep.
And Sam Fertitta, our grandchild, got the science award.
Right.
So I need to give him a copy of this book,
yes,
Pablo.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and absolutely. This book is made for that. It's made to be able to explain what's going on, what are the sources, and what we can do about it. So it has absolutely grounded in science. And I'm not sugarcoating, right? I'm not saying, hey, don't worry about it. It's all going to be okay. Let's just live our own lives. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the big picture message is we are in a bad spot as far as sustainability goes, as far as the environmental impacts. But it is getting better. And this is something we often miss. We're taking a lot of the right steps. Society's moving in the right direction. So we know what to do. We know how to do it. We're just not doing it fast enough.
Yeah.
So bad, but better is the framing of the book.
Okay. How did writing the book change? I mean, you've admitted that, you personally had some guilt too. How has writing this book changed the way that you do your personal life, or the way you think, or the way you relate to the world and the environment?
Dave, this was transformational for me, and I really wish that it becomes transformational for listeners and readers of the book. That's my ultimate goal. I was, as many of the listeners today, I'm sure, I was very worried. I was very consumed by guilt, and I was doing everything I possibly could to do my part. This includes, I was very ferocious carnivore, and I went to becoming a full vegetarian overnight. I, stopped driving my car, started riding my bike every day. I took all the steps you can possibly think of to do the right thing for the environment, to the point that, going to work, I was calculating whether I should take the lift or the stairs to go up to my floor, or if I should buy the vegetarian pizza that came from Germany from the store, or the meat pizza that was made in Australia. I was living in Sydney at the time in Australia. So this was my life. My life was trying to make all the right choices as an individual.
Yeah.
And the transformation from writing the book was, what we're talking about today, this realization that these individual steps, these are not the things that really turn the tides and that move the needle. These are really distractions from the big actions that need to be taken and that we try to take. And so this allowed me to not, I didn't stop doing any of those things. I still take my reusable bags to the store. Whenever I go to the store, I'm still very much dropped my meat intake significantly. But now, when I go to the store and I forgot my reusable bag, I don't kick myself. I don't, feel guilty for the rest of the day. When I, am at a friend's house and they're serving a dish with meat, I don't feel bad because I'm either going to eat it or I'm going to excuse myself to not eat it. I've come over those things, overcame that guilt, and I really started focusing on the big steps. And the big steps, as we talked about, is where can I fit myself to have the biggest leverage? Can I help shape the policy, the rules around my neighborhood? Can I help to change, put any laws in place for my municipality, for my city? Can I, teach this subject somewhere? Can I, am I part of a university that has an endowment, and where is this endowment being invested? Can I influence that and create a coalition around it? Can I help groups that already exist and are fighting the front lines in the big environmental movement? Can I support them by joining or by donating my time, my money, my energy, my effort? Those are the big steps that move the needle, and focusing on those is so rewarding and at the same time so good for yourself by getting rid of that guilt that's not getting you anywhere.
Listening to you, this seems so clear. But my question is, why are we so divisive about that? Why is this such a hot topic?
That's a great question, David. One of the things that I found while researching for the book and while writing the book was by design. We are very divided by design. There was a lot of, information, propaganda, advertisement towards this idea. Firstly, that this doesn't exist. There's no such thing as climate change. There's no such thing as these environmental impacts. We're, small little humans in a big world. Don't worry about it. Then it was, this might exist, but it's not a big deal. It's been happening all the time. It's going to continue to happen. We're not really powerful enough to be able to change our world in such a significant way. Then it became, yes, this exists. It's a big deal, but there's nothing we can do about it. It's just too big of a deal. Yeah. So you're better off not worrying about it because it's too big and there's nothing you can do individually. All these were strategies in play, that deployed by all the vested interests that are making money with the current status quo of the situation. And so I think understanding that the division occurs because there are people that benefit from the continuation of the situation is very important, Dave, in this conversation.
Yeah. The book is called Climate Changed. Pablo Diaz. Dr. Pablo Diaz is the author. He's our life strategist today. And we've got more to learn. So stay right where you are. Much more to come here on Strategies for Living. Be right back.
We all have problems every day. We all need help. along the way. We need strategies, strategies, strategies for living radio.
Welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living Radio. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. I never thought I would say this about a science book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read at night, as you know.
Yes.
So, Pablo, you owe me some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Your book is so good. I couldn't put the dadgum thing down. So, and I love the fact that and we've kind of done this in the interview so far. How do we get here, and the real problems and what they are, and you lay that out so well in the book. But with the time we have left, I think we got to talk about, all right,
what can we do?
Yeah,
what are the strategies?
Yeah, Lauren and I in our household, when I look at, just like you've said, when I look at the world,
we try to limit plastic. We
do the best we can, but so but it's not enough. So what can what can us do?
Well, first and foremost, I'm humbled by the praise. Thank you so much. I really hope that your listeners get the chance to read it too, and that they find it insightful. The whole idea here, Dave and Lauren, is let's start with the little steps. Let's start with learning, right? Let's start with really understanding the problem. So I think picking up this book is obviously a great way to start, but if you don't have the time, 5-minute sustainability reset we talked about is 2 pages. It's literally 2 pages. It's a PDF made to be 5 minutes long. That's why it's called that way. But it's really learning, right? If I'm hearing that there are these problems, what are the problems, and what are the origins of these problems? How can we know, and what are the big sources that we should be focusing on? I think that's the first step. It's the learning part. Then the second part is promoting change, right? And promoting change can take the place absolutely of doing the things that you can, that to be green. Like you guys just talked about, like Laura, you just talked about reducing the amount of plastic you use.
Yes.
Absolutely, go and do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Reducing the amount of water, amount of electricity you use, driving less if you can. Those are all great things. But then we go into the big steps. Let's not stop in the little steps. Let's go into the big steps. And the big steps are related to collective action. That's the key insight. We are powerful together.
Yes.
And you are part of a lot of collectives. You have a group of friends. You have groups that do exercise together, play sports. You have groups where you guys study together, where you work together. All those groups, they have more power than individuals, and they all insert in the society, right? If you work, like we talked about, if you study at university or at school, are there investments by that school, by that university? Where are they invested in? Are those investments related to the mission and the values of the institution, or are they not? In Harvard, there was a big movement called Divest Harvard, which students noticed that, Harvard was all about sustainability in pro-environment, but had a lot of investments in fossil fuel companies in the endowment. And so they used that power to collectively, make a movement against it, and they were successful. And that has taken places in other universities too. So it's a great example of, you're a student at a university and you can have a lot of power. Another good example is people that got together to promote change with collective action. So we can think about Greenpeace as a movement. You can think about Give Directly, or any of these institutions that are doing big changes and big protests. You can participate with them. You can be a volunteer. You can donate money. You can donate time, effort. These institutions, they basically live off of donations and live off of people that want to help. And so that's a big step, and you can create your individual contributions towards the collective action. Yet another one is, where do you live, and what's the neighborhood you live in? How is it set up? Is it set up so that you have access to things? You can walk to things? Can you bike to things? Is there an infrastructure for people to ride bicycles, or is it very car dependent? It's not going to work to say, like, we should drive less if the system's all set up for you to drive everywhere.
Right.
And you're probably not going to be able to change your state directly, but if you start with your neighborhood and your local regulations, that's much easier to do, and that has powerful effects. Once it's more convenient to ride a bike and to not take a car, people start doing it. Right incentives in place, make a change. So those are the big steps. And then the third big thing, we talked about learning, we talked about promoting change, and the third big thing is teaching. Right? It's once you understand, once you're part of this, how can you share your wisdom? How can you share your knowledge? And we can talk about, the lecture halls and the formal places, but also a group of friends, 3 people discussing this topic. Hey, what are you guys doing about the planet? What do you think? What are the actions you're taking? That's a teaching moment too.
Yeah.
And just like we're doing today, I think that this is part of the big steps.
Absolutely.
So, you used this term earlier, and I think it's an important term, net zero. But I think it's a term that, it's kind of like, Lauren, you and I talk a lot about psychobabble. Yeah. And I think net zero has become almost the equivalent of psychobabble.
Would that be science babble, I suppose?
Yeah, science babble. So, Professor, help Joe and Jane understand what net zero means.
Sure, absolutely. Net zero means that we're not putting more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. The net of what we put minus whatever we remove is zero, right? So if we have it's like sugar in a coffee. Imagine like we're putting sugar in a coffee, and there's a certain amount of sugar in that coffee.
I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah. Sweetener. Can we do sweetener then? So the amount of sweetener you put into the coffee needs to be equal to the amount of sweetener you take out of the coffee. That's basically the idea. And what that means in practice is we have a lot of processes that will unfortunately continue to release some greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And some of them are natural. So we're not going to be able to stop all the gases from going into the atmosphere. But if we limit the amount and make the amount of sweetener, to go back to my analogy, very little, then we can absolutely remove some of that, some of those greenhouse gases, some of that sweetener out of the atmosphere. And net zero is exactly that. It's a big, hairy goal that we have to reach 2050 with net zero without pumping any more of these greenhouse gases into the environment. That's net zero in a nutshell.
So it's so refreshing. We just got a minute before we have to go to break, but it's so refreshing, Pablo, that you're writing this and you're expressing today hope. Yeah. And that's so refreshing to hear a scientist working in this field telling us, hey, we're going in the right direction. Don't give up. You have so much hope. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important.
You're absolutely welcome. And that was, again, a big part of the transformation of writing this book. I was sitting in a place of despair and, this is, we're doomed. Right. And writing the book, going through the data was transformational for me, and I hope it's transformational for your listeners.
Absolutely. I know it will be. So the book is called Climate Changed. Pablo Diaz. Dr. Pablo Diaz is the author. He's been our life strategist today. It's the science of sustainability and how each of us can do our part. And I want you to get the book. I think it's important for you to get the book. But even before you do, Dr. Pablo gives us a gift, a 5-minute sustainability reset. Very easy to understand. You can find it at pablodiaz.net. We'll be back to wrap up here on Strategies in just a minute. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren, Leon, McMillan. You're over there taking notes.
Well, yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, when you got a life strategist as good as Dr. Diaz,
you got to take notes, right?
That's what you do.
Climate Changed, Pablo Diaz, and Climate Changed. You can get it at your favorite bookseller, and I hope you will. You can also download the 5-minute sustainability reset free at pablodiaz.com. Pablo, I wish we had another 3 hours to talk. We don't. So what do you want to leave people with? What do you hope people really take away from our conversation today?
I hope people go away with the idea that sustainability is not only possible, but we're on the right track to achieve it. Sustainability is something that we all should strive for. It's important for our current lives, but also for the lives of our children. and we're in the right trajectory. Solar energy, as an example, is the cheapest form of energy today. In spite of recent movements from the federal government, solar energy has reached record deployment last year, which goes to show like we are moving in the right direction, even if the headlines don't feel that way. And this book is a tool to help you understand why and to help you understand what you can do in your own life, and especially to remove the guilt from anyone that cares about the subject that feels like this is too hard and the battle is lost, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's the idea behind the book, to say that we're tracking well, but we need to accelerate all the changes that we know that we need to do.
Thank you for all you're doing.
Yes.
Thank you for being a great life strategist. And folks, thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Strategies. And we appreciate our sponsors, the Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning RX. We train your brain. The Balanced Life Wellness Center, Fertitas Delicatessen, SRT Sales Training, Uprising Addiction Center, and Mira Direct Primary Care. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who is it that you'd call? And what would you say to them? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Dr. Pablo Diaz and for Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. We'll see you next time right here on Strategies for Living.